Well, I saw a sheep camp out here in Elko at the gathering last year, so we were thinking we could show some sheep camps out here now. Over the years, cowboys and drovers of all sorts have implemented a wide variety of ways to provide food and shelter over the trail or on the range. We've seen everything from a bedroll and chuck wagon to a bunkhouse. Another home on the range is the sheep camp. My name is Frank Kanig. We're in Spanish Fork, Utah. My family started in the sheep business in the 1800s. That's my grandpa, Fred Ludlow, sitting, and Viv Patton there, his partner. They didn't shave their beards off all winter while they were out with the herd on the desert. It'd take them 3 days on horseback to get out to the winter range. They'd stay the night at Cherry Creek, at Porter Rockwell's son's ranch, and then at Joy. That was a post office and a roadhouse run by Old May and Madam X. But that's another kind of story. The modern-day sheep camp evolved from a tent and stove on a pack horse. Then came the first camp wagons, which were horse-drawn and covered with a layer of canvas stretched over wooden staves. Eventually, the canvas gave way to metal on the upper section. The basic wagon-type design lends itself to traveling over rough country, sometimes where there's no road at all. This isn't our oldest camp, but it's one of the older ones. I'm not exactly sure when it was built, but the frame is from a Model A Ford truck, so that would be late 20s or early 30s. When I was a kid growing up, we had 2 camps. This was the one that I grew up in, a lot of times in this camp. In the other camp we had, the window here was over the bed. And I was about 8 years old, laying in there one day, and there'd been a bear in the herd. And we'd gone out in the morning looking for it, and I came back in and fell asleep. Little Joe shot the cub of this bear, and they loaded it onto a big blue horse, and I was awakened with the bloody bear head coming through the window on my young nose. And I raised up and hit my head on the shelf there and went back and forth, and they all had a good laugh.
My name's Joan Jarvis, Jarvis Sheep Company. This is an old camp that we bought from an old sheep herder, and we've used it one season with a little Indian herder in it. But now it's a playhouse for our grandkids, and they love it. Out here on the outside is that you can see a hook. That's where the sheep herders hung their meat to keep it at night. They'd chill it, and then they'd roll it in a blanket and put it in their beds through the day to keep it cool.
This one's got a place up here. You put your hat. Keep it out of the way. Down to the Jarvises, we got talking about lambing time, when a storm was spooking the herd. I come out, and there were three of them had lambed, and one was over there, Granny and all. I didn't know who, blonde. Yeah. And then I got that straightened up, and there was another one that had a foot sticking out. Yeah. So I thought, well, let's get this taken care of, and yeah. Here was a foot. And I reached in there, and there was a head. And I pulled the head out, and I reached back in for the other foot.
And it was back here.
Well, my finger went into a mouth.
Yeah.
When I reached in, I thought, oh, it's a two-headed lamb. What am I? And I worked and worked. I thought it was a two-headed lamb for sure. I went and woke old Carl up in the middle of the night. I had to get dressed.
To get the twins.
He pushed. It was twins. He pushed the one.
Yeah, it's quite a different life.
Where's my dog? Sadie, come here. Get up here and say hi. Come here. Get up here. Come on. Say hi to these guys. Be on TV.
Made us some pork chops one day, and sourdough was the best meal I ever had.
Yeah. That sourdough is pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
When I was a kid, we just had sourdough. We didn't have bread. Yeah. And I remember coming back one day and it got too active, and that thing that took, there was it looked like the blob. Stuff was all over the place, The modern sheep camp offers a wide variety of modern conveniences not found in the old camps. There are propane stoves and refrigerators, 2 beds, solar panels with electric lights and television. I'm happy to just tell a little bit about my family and sheep camps. It's something that not only has been a big part of my life and my family's, but there are getting to be fewer and fewer of them. Fortunately, people are starting to pick the old ones up and restore them. You can't hardly beat them for something that'll travel over rough ground and keep you warm on a cold night. Well, with all these solar panels and TVs and that, who's watching the herd if the herder's in there watching TV?